Ooh, you got me just so crazy over you. We love Madonna, we love Madonna, we love Madonna, we love Madonna.
Hi, this is Stephen Bray, and you're listening to MLVC, the Madonna podcast. Your place for all things Madonna Louise, Veronica Ciccone.
Hey everybody, it's Tony, and we're about to cause a commotion with our guest today.
Yes, we are. And hey everybody, it's Stefan. Thanks for joining us for another episode of MLVC. We recently spoke to Breakfast Club, and there were so many questions that we didn't get a chance to ask to Stephen Bray and his work with Madonna. He was gracious enough to come back for a follow-up interview. Welcome back, Stephen. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
For those of you who may not know Stephen Bray, shame on you if you're listening to this podcast and do not know who Stephen Bray is. He is a songwriter, drummer, record producer, probably best known to all of our listeners as someone who collaborated a lot with Madonna. As I said, he was a member of the band Breakfast Club. Is it you won the Grammy or the musical won the Grammy? I want to get it right.
The musical won a Tony for Best Revival. Several actors won Tonys along the way, and the recording, the cast recording won a Grammy from our 2016 revival.
Okay, so and the music we're talking about is the Color Purple. Yes,
yeah.
So for the Broadway show and the soon-to-be Hollywood musical movie version as well. So
that's right.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know, Tony, you want to just jump right in? We don't want to waste any time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Stephen, welcome back. We're happy to talk to you again. You were the first member of the Breakfast Club to meet Madonna, which happened at the University of Michigan way before anyone went to New York. What kind of music performance scene, if any, did you and Madonna find yourselves in at U of M before you eventually went to Berklee College of Music to study music and Madonna went to New York to study dance?
Well, oddly enough, in Ann Arbor, Michigan, in 1977, we're at the height of disco. This is a very dance-friendly era of music, and there's my memory. You'll find as I answer these questions, my memory is fading, but like old photographs. But I either met Madonna at a dance class, a U of M dance class that she was attending and I was playing hand percussion for, because they'd hire drummers to come in and play for I don't know if it was an African dance class or something like that. I know that I did that at one point and saw her there, but I'm pretty sure the first time I really laid eyes was at what was then called the Blue Frog discotheque. And it was like one of those classic movie scenes where she came out onto the dance floor. I was waiting tables in my Dance Your Ass Off t-shirt they made us wear. And she cleared the floor maybe she was with a dancer friend of hers or something. And as we've learned, as she likes to do, she commanded the attention of everyone in the room, including me. And I offered her a gin and tonic. I said, "What do you want to drink?" And I said, I want to buy you a drink. I don't know what made me do that, because was not my style. But obviously I was meant to do that, and graciously she said yes.
Wow.
But to answer the rest of your question about the scene, a lot of dancing going on. I was playing drums in a bunch of different ensembles. The one band was called The Cost of Living, and I remember her coming to our gigs and being one of the only people dancing, on the dance floor. And it was all original music, so we weren't super popular because people didn't know the songs. Because I also played in a top 40 band called Bigfoot, I think, at the time. And everybody danced because we were playing, Boz Scaggs and Van Halen and Donna Summer and Iggy and the Stooges. We were playing anything and everything. And she would come to those gigs, I think. But I know she was at the Cost of Living gigs, and she'd show up other places where I'd be playing. And we were hanging out for that 1977 into 78 maybe. And then I think that's when she moved to New York.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys have discussions with each other about like when we go to New York or when I go to New York or we have to go to New York?
Not at all. Not at all. She was I just remember being sad when she left town. But she left, I think, to pursue dance because she wasn't really talking about music at the time. And it was mostly poetry and dance in her life and selling ice cream at the ice cream store. I do remember going to the ice cream store on South University in Ann Arbor where she used to work and give me free ice cream.
That's such a bizarre visual to imagine that Madonna did something as mundane as sell ice cream.
Yep. She and her friend, I think Whitley, I think they both worked there. You're taking me back. You're taking me back to 1977.
It also seems like if she was working at an ice cream shop, she'd be one of those like people that you see in an 80s movie who like barely does any work. You know, she's like doing her nails and like just dancing behind the cash register.
She always had a really thick book of poetry. I do remember that. And I think she journaled all the time too. So yeah, she was definitely pursuing other things other than ice cream.
She saw beyond the chocolate cones.
Beyond the scoop, which might be a title of her autobiography.
I know, right? We're going to jump around a little bit here. So in addition to working with Madonna in your own band, you also co-wrote several hit songs for some rather eclectic artists in the 80s, such as E.G. Daily, who you worked with Jelly Bean on her single Say It, Say It. I love it so much. Also famously with Regina on Baby Love, which confused pretty much anyone who ever heard it when it came out. And the Jets, you did a great song for the Jets on the Beverly Hills Cop 2 soundtrack, and also Kylie Minogue when she came to America. And again, working with Nile Rodgers on the Earth Girls Are Easy soundtrack. Tell us what it was like being a songwriter, producer for hire in the 80s. Like, did they come to you? Did you go to them? Was it something MCA put together?
You know, I used to say to my mom, I'd say, you know, because my parents thought I was crazy, moving to New York by myself, broke, without a place to live or anything like that. And I said, listen, all I really need to do is get one decent song out there and I'll be okay. Because my parents were teachers and they were really concerned that this music thing was a bad idea. Well, you know, once, you know, Into the Groove was a kind of a interesting mistake because we had written that song for someone else. I think Mark Kamens was producing somebody, maybe Shane, although I could.
That's what I've read. I read it was Shane. Yeah,
I think it was Shane who was supposed to sing that song, and you know, Madonna took it down the street in 1980. I want to say 3 or 4 when they were shooting Desperately, because I lived in East Village, and they were shooting Desperately Seeking Susan right down the street. And she took the tape over there, and she must have played it for the producers, and they were like, "Let's work this in." You know,
very smart of them.
I imagine there was already the Danceteria scene in the movie, but somehow that song got to be the one they were dancing to. But I'm saying all that to say that, you know, that was sort of once that became a Madonna single in, what was it, 1984, late 84, 85, something like that. That's when people began to say, hey, would you, you know, do you have any songs for this artist and that artist? You know, Jelly Bean, who, you know, I love to remind people, really gave me a really great start in New York by hiring me to do arrangements for him, some drum programming for him. And, you know, Crazy for You, he had me do the drums on that one. And he began to call me in for remixes, and I'd do drum programming for him. And so I think he was producing E.G. Daily, I'm pretty sure. And he asked if we could write a song. I think I wrote that with Tony C. and E.G. Yeah, we wrote that song. We wrote Say It, Say It for her, based on a Jelly Bean thing. So, and then from there, you mentioned the Jets. You know, once Breakfast Club got signed to MCA, that kind of opened us up to that world of soundtracks, and that was the amazing era of Kathy Nelson, who I might have mentioned when we were talking about Breakfast Club. She ran soundtracks for MCA, and she's famous for having created these amazing compilations of you know, Top Gun type soundtracks where the soundtrack is almost as successful as the film. And so she asked us to write that song for Cross My Broken Heart for the Jets, which I wrote with my dear friend Tony Pierce. And just, you know, things, the phone just, once you get lucky, the phone doesn't stop ringing until you stop picking it up. So
people just want to keep working with you.
They do. And Eddie from Breakfast Club coined the phrase. He said, "Oh, let's just turn on the radio," because I was having a really good run.
Well, so yeah, and as Tony said, we are sort of skipping around in time just to sort of give a bit of context. To jump back, obviously, Madonna was part of Breakfast Club, then she left, and Breakfast Club continued in a different direction without her. You had collaborated with her on several demos that eventually got her a record deal at Sire, and those amazing, stellar collaborations finally came to be the Like a Virgin sessions and established Madonna's signature sound for the remainder of the 80s. Did she want a different sound from the band when she was in Breakfast Club? Was that something that she was sort of saying, I think we should do this? Or was it very much she just was aligned with keeping Breakfast Club, and she thought, after I leave here, I'm going to do my own thing?
I'm guessing a little bit because we weren't contemporaneous in Breakfast Club. We weren't in the band at the same time. So, because I basically took her place as the drummer.
Right.
But creatively and musically, what I'd say happened is that she realized that she wanted to be in front. She wanted to be in front, and she wanted to be the center of attention. I don't know where that came from, but she really enjoyed, I think, being the front person. And the sound of her songs that when I first came to New York in 1980, in August of 80, she had a set list of, 10, 15 songs. And they were still pretty, I wouldn't call, they weren't as punky as Breakfast Club. They weren't quite as out and out, sort of thrashy, super Ramonesy, I think I used to say. They were I think they more reflected her pop sensibilities. And there were really cool songs. I'm sure those demos are out there somewhere. There's a song called Love for Tender, I think. I don't know if you guys know that one, but that's really indicative of, like, I thought it sounded like, well, once I got my hands on it. Because when I joined the party, I started to, bring some of my ideas to it. So the song Love for Tender I'm talking about, I think it sounded a little bit like the Byrds, and I'm probably going back way before a lot of your audience was born. But, the Byrds, Roger McGuinn and David Crosby, this beautiful folky, rock band. And, her songs had a simplicity to them that I think some of these, it just lended itself to arrangements like the Love for Tender and Hot House Flower. You guys know that one? Have you heard that song? Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have some fun digging to do, because I think they're out there on the internet. There's a song called Hot House Flower. If you leave me alone, I might die was the lyric. And there was a really good range of sounds that I think reflected her Detroit roots, the Motown pop roots. And that's kind of how, I know I'm jumping around on you guys a little bit, but that's why we got along together so well, because we just had such similar instincts in terms of what we loved and what we wanted to try and create.
Mm-hmm. And can I ask, what was the collaborative approach when you worked with her? What was it like getting together to work on music with her? Was it sort of like clear delineation of who was taking care of what, and you were going to step in and do this, or were you both bringing ideas to the table?
Well, definitely both bringing ideas to the table, because she is, I like to remind people who don't understand, she's an extremely gifted musician and musical person. Her sense of musicality and harmony and melody is all hers. Nobody gave her any of that. Mm-hmm. And if I did anything, it was to sort of help shape things and maybe create arrangements that showed off the song better, which is what I think is the important job of collaborators. But the process, in terms of style, we both love a lot of different kinds of things. I think that I was a little more clubby, though. She, as much as she loved dancing, the music she was making, and maybe that was because, a lot of the times when you're a songwriter, how you write is based on what instrument you play and how you play that instrument. And so she's approaching the songwriting as a guitarist, and maybe as a rock guitarist, whereas I was coming at things like as a drum programmer, as a drummer. And I think the songs that I was writing, some songs on my own that were more kind of out of the club world. Mm-hmm. And
thank you for that.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I was smart enough to realize that my singing of a song is not going to sell it. And I said, we had been doing a lot of Madonna songs in the Emmy Band or the Millionaires or Modern Dance or whatever we were called at the time. But I said, hey, I got this song. Will you sing it for me? It's called Ain't No Big Deal. And here's the lyric and here's how it goes. Mm-hmm. And thank God she sang it. And have you heard that demo? That's
yeah.
out there too.
Yeah.
That's out there too. Well, not the record, not the one that's on the record, not the one that's on Attack of the Killer Bees.
Right.
That's the one
B-side,
that that's the one that Mark Kamen's produced. There's a more disco-y version of it. I don't know if you've ever heard that one, but but that was a smart move on my part, because she sang it way better than I did, and I think she took it around to Danceteria, and Mark Kamen's, I think, was literally playing the cassette, that we'd made, and I think that caused her to trust my instincts about the dance side of things, which was, and like I say, a whole other route. I think her manager at the time, Camille, was pushing her more to be like a Cher,
right.
like a there's another demo out there maybe called I Want You that's very Cher. It's very rock, and it's very poppy. I mean, everything she does is hooky, because we just love Hook so much. But she came back to me and said, let's do some more of this kind of stuff. And so that's where the 4 songs, we did 4 songs that I think got her signed, that Seymour Stein and Michael Rosenblatt signed her off of over at Sire. That was a super long answer to your question.
No, it's perfect. As you're mentioning, Stephen, there is a lot of those songs that we might have heard that are floating around on the internet. There's a treasure trove of unreleased Madonna that is basically fan fiction almost sometimes at this point. And I wanted to dive in a little bit on some of the songs that maybe we've heard about that you worked with, and sort of a little bit about what you could tell us, what you remember about those.
2 songs that you wrote with Madonna for her albums, I'm guessing True Blue and Like a Prayer. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but talking about Each Time You Break My Heart and Get Over, which were reworked and produced for other artists. Tell us a little bit about those, and also any of the other unreleased tracks from that time that no one has heard, that unfortunately the fans will not be able to hear. Another one was like Morning Signs from the Vision Quest soundtrack that was recorded but never used.
We're just sort of looking to sort of like, because we've heard things about, for Vision Quest, there were meant to be 3 songs, but only 2 were used. And the one called Warning Signs was never was that a ballad? Was that
such an upbeat song? Such a good song. So I'm going to need your help to remind me of different titles, but yeah, I think going chronologically, Warning Signs is probably the first of the ones you've mentioned. There's also one before that called Head Over Heels that's really good, that I doubt that anybody's ever heard. Really, because we didn't get that far with it.
Right.
Head Over Heels and Crushed to Bits. Really cool song. But Warning Signs was, we did it. I think we did 4 songs. It was Shooby Doo. Did that come out?
Yeah, that made it to
final stages of Like a Virgin.
Is that on Like a Virgin? Okay. Should we do Warning Signs? Gambler was part of that group of stuff. And then there was one. Oh, and then
Crazy for You.
Oh, but that was Rob Mounsey. Rob Mounsey did that arrangement. And John Lind, may he rest in peace, such a great man, wrote that song. But Warning Signs, you asked about the tempo. It's kind of a mid-tempo. If it sounds like anything, is it Warning, Warning, Warning. I think it goes, it's like a little Human League-ish. It's a little Human League kind of, very synthy, because I remember it's dance tempo. If she would ask, I would be happy to dig out all of this stuff, because somewhere in some vault, some crate, some, Hollywood, media storage place, all this stuff is there. So, but she has to ask for it. Then you mentioned, did you mention First There's a Kiss?
No. Which one's that?
We were going to. I have a laundry list of songs I was going to ask about.
Okay, well, I can let you lead it. First There's a Kiss is one of my favorites, though. That one is, I think that was written maybe between True Blue and Like a Prayer. Maybe.
Yeah, according to I think Wikipedia says it's for the Like a Prayer sessions.
It's so crazy that there's a Wikipedia mention of a song that. I mean, is there a leaked demo of that on the internet?
No, not as far as I know.
Huh.
That might be one of those that circulates amongst the collectors, the people who pay top dollar to have those for their own private stash, but they don't share it on the internet.
I know there's some things that I see out there that I just don't know how they got out there, because must have been somebody we passed a demo to back in the early 80s that then, kept it or something and sold it or something. But First There's a Kiss is one of my favorites because it really reflects where we were at during I feel like that's contemporaneous with Express Yourself, maybe. And it's got a similar kind of sound, attitude to it. It's not quite as old school. I think Express Yourself always feels like a 60s song to me. But First There's a Kiss is very, we both love the Carpenters. I don't know if that's a thing that people know, but we both love the Carpenters and Karen Carpenter's voice and her harmonies, or Richard Carpenter did a lot of those arrangements. But First There's a Kiss is a really pretty song that has a great dance tempo as well, and insanely great hook. So again, I'm just gonna, if there needs to be a campaign.
This is such a tease. This is because
she's the one though. She has the power.
Well, so on that, why would songs like that not end up like, if it was that good? If you're sitting there saying, "Oh my gosh, this is Carpenters in heaven, and this is like Express Yourself, a sister to Express Yourself," why wouldn't something like that end up on an album or a B-side?
It's a great question. There's only so many tracks. It's not like nowadays where you can just pop stuff out digitally and have it instantly distributed to the world. Back then, 8-10 songs on an album, and we were sharing. I was early on in kindergarten. I learned to play well with others. So Pat Leonard, would do some tracks, and to be honest with you, I think she just, if the sound of Like a Prayer, First There's a Kiss might have been a little light for that album, to tell you the truth. It might have been a little light because there's a bite to those songs, and I feel like she probably felt it was a little too pop.
It didn't sort of live in the same world.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Well, I'm jumping back then as well. So Desperately Seeking Susan was a song that was written for Desperately Seeking Susan. But yeah, we've never heard that song either. And as far as I know, it has not leaked. What can you tell us about the vibe of that? And I had this funny thing I've mentioned many times on the podcast, where in the 80s, there was a very strange habit of, if there was a movie titled Desperately Seeking Susan on the soundtrack, there was always a song called Desperately Seeking Susan. Many songs had that, where it was like the title of the movie was also the title of the lead song. Right. So it was funny for me to hear that there actually was a song written called Desperately Seeking Susan.
And it's a good one too. I'm sorry that I have to just tease.
Stephen, like, you need to have a listening party, and we're all going to come over and just sit in your living room.
Oh, I wish I could. No, but that's an example of one where, I don't know, I feel like she might have lost interest in it. We did a really good first pass at it. There's an 8-track somewhere of that song, and I think it sits in a very, very cool place in her vocal range, very much like it's a precursor to Express Yourself, because it's that earnest Papa Don't Preachy kind of range for her, and I think she lost interest in it because it just wasn't. I don't know. Maybe she just didn't think it was good enough. I really liked it. It was very much like, I don't know. I feel it was inspired a little bit by Stevie Nicks. Maybe the Stand Back track, although I'm not sure.
I knew you were going to say that.
I don't know if my timing's right on that, though, because when did Stand Back come out?
That was like 83, I think.
Oh, was it that early? Then yeah, because I know that I was going for that feel of that kind of thing, that sort of danceable, because Prince, I think Prince, legend has it that Prince had a hand in Stand Back. And I think that I was trying to do something as hooky and as danceable as that. But one of these days.
What type of song was it? Was it a song about a woman named Susan? Was it, it wasn't.
Definitely. It was definitely about the character. It was definitely about the character of Susan. And sung from, that beautiful way that Madonna has of being able to write from someone else's point of view. And it was about the character from the point of view of someone who knew that character quite well.
We've covered Love Attack and First Is a Kiss, Desperately Seeking Susan.
You didn't mention Love Attack.
Oh, we didn't mention Love Attack?
No, I don't think so. That was another one I wrote with Tony C. I did. No. Why? No, because of Tony C. I wrote Rap Attack. Different song. Rap Attack, Love Attack. Yeah, Love Attack was definitely also during the it was Express Yourself, right around that same time.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I feel like, God, did Nikki Harris sing a version of Love Attack?
Oh my God.
It was for some reason I feel like maybe she considered recording it or something, because I can almost hear her singing the background vocals on it. But I'm going to admit to you, I'm blurring Rap Attack and Love Attack in my mind. Yeah, because I'm singing the hook to Rap Attack in my head, and I'm not going to be able to speak much to Love Attack other than I remember liking it, and it's definitely in that same. I can tell you the drum machine, RX5 Yamaha drum machine that I used on that one, and it was definitely during that same period of demos we did up in Sherman Oaks where I used to live.
There was an album that was released by you in 1997 called Pre-Madonna, which is a collection of demo songs that you worked on with Madonna but had never been heard before. On a personal note, I just wanted to say I think your demo of Stay and Don't You Know should have been a single. I mean, those are amazing songs. Are there any other unreleased demos in the vault that you chose not to put out that we haven't heard, or was that sort of like those are the cream of the crop, everything else just was unfinished?
Well, that whole collection's a sensitive subject because it was sort of mishandled by people that were involved, and well, the truth is, it was meant to be a scrapbook, a scrapbook of our early days, and like songs like Crimes of Passion, which was a really early one for us. I really, really enjoyed that stuff, and I thought it would be a really cool kind of. I thought it would be a really good musical scrapbook, and I remember saying that to her. But there were the people I was working with on it really jumped the gun because she should have had complete approval and oversight, but the folks I was working with jumped the gun because they were probably just overly enthusiastic is the kindest way I can put it. And did it in a way that she wasn't happy about. And it's unfortunate because I think those songs, we were talking earlier about her sound. Laugh to Keep from Crying is a really good bridge from what she was doing with Breakfast Club and what she was doing, before I came to New York, and then, what happened after, because that was one we wrote together. But there are, and to answer your question, there are other songs. Those were I was legally able to, include them in that collection because of when and how they were recorded. But there are some others that's not the case. So that's why I keep saying, if she wants to hear them, they can be found and they can be, polished off and see the light of day.
Yeah, because I think that's one of those things where people maybe like people who aren't in the music industry, they might not grasp why. Oh, well, if these demos were able to be put out, how come other demos haven't been able to come out?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Once you sign an exclusive contract with a label, that means that anything you do after that period of time is theirs. So that's just the easiest way of putting that. And so that there's a line of demarcation with some of the stuff we did where once she signed with Warner's, I would not have any, standing, to do anything without permission.
Right. Well, I mean, don't you know, as Tony knows, that's been one of my bops. I had only recently discovered it. I think this just within the past year.
You make my life much brighter now. Yep. I totally forgot about that song until you said it.
Yeah, it's heaven. It's perfect.
We did that recording in the Music Building, which was this great building. You guys have probably heard about
Avenue.
it.
Yep.
Yeah, 8th Avenue, 38th Street, something like that. And I remember we did that recording up on like the 12th floor and the 10th floor because we used to bounce around. Whoever had, there's a guitar player in this room, there's a keyboard player in that room, and there's a drum set in this room. So, but that one I have a very vivid memory of asking a gentleman named Bobby, who can't remember his last name, but he played some keyboards on that for us. And that's a good one. I love that one. And Stay was such a trippy one. That version of Stay is
it's so good.
I just remember 3:00 in the morning, 12th floor in Regina Richards' room. Oh. That's where we did that one because Regina was in the same building, and that's where we did that. That's where we did a lot of work in Regina's room. Nez and Regina. Each Time You Break My Heart was, I feel like that came from, that was probably meant for True Blue, I think, based on when my memory of, I can sort of picture us working on that one. And again, just the stiff competition. Pat Leonard's a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
He's really good, and I think that one just didn't make the cut. And and there is a version of her singing it out there now. Has that one leaked? Is that out there?
It's. I think people just want to hear like a polished version of that because the version that's out there is kind of not great.
It's scratchy and weird. Yeah,
it's doable. It'll get you through the day if you need it.
I see. Well, that's one where if her ladyship wanted to hear that clean version, it could be done. That's definitely those are. I think that's stuff that's been, it's retrievable somehow. But yeah, I really loved that song because that was very much in the whole True Blue. She's so much in love with Sean Penn, that pop sort of sad crying pop song thing that's going on in that. And but Nick Kamen, may he rest in peace, did a beautiful job on it. I thought that was a perfect fit. And I remember a friend of mine saying to me, "There's this song I hate. They play it all the time. They play it all the time." She lived in Europe at the time. She said, "They play it all the time. I can't stand it." And I asked her what it was. She said, "That's my song." And so I was happy to hear how much she hated it.
These are questions that I've had for, I guess, decades now. But yeah, anyway, Baby Love, released in 1986. So it was co-written and produced with Regina Richards. And it was a big summer radio hit in the U.S. I grew up in Houston, Texas, and it played on the radio at least 4 times a day. Everyone thought it was Madonna singing on the track, even the DJ at first.
Wow.
What did she think of the song, Madonna? And also, there are, I've actually heard you speak on this, and I've seen, written clues throughout the years about the unreleased demo of Baby Love produced by Jelly Bean featuring Phoebe Cates when she was trying to launch a singing career. Like, that's interesting.
Have you heard that version?
No, I would love to. I wouldn't even know where to find it.
Somebody I know has that version. Yeah,
we're gonna request some unmarked mail be dropped in our mailboxes with some treats, and we won't say where they came from.
I'm trying to think of who. Somebody acquired that somehow, but it's not me. I'm not being coy. We need to give props to Mary Kessler because Mary Kessler is the co-writer on Baby Love, and that song was actually born, no pun intended, out of a gamble because Mary was playing in a very cool art band called State of Desire, I think, and they used to play at CBGB's, and it was really, one of those sort of super cool. You could tell everybody probably went to Harvard in the band type bands, and we were friends. And I said to her, "I know your band's really cool and everything, but and you think what I do is silly and trite, but I bet you can't do a hooky pop song." And then Baby Love was born out of that. And Regina came in and helped, kind of polish it and make it, into the solid piece of pop that it is. And I honestly was surprised that there was so much confusion. I mean, God bless Regina. I don't think she was, because I have been playing drums with Regina as well for, I don't know, a year or two.
And she had more of a rock and roll background, right? Well,
the Red Hots was definitely a rock band, mainly due to, Nez, the guitar player, and Charlie Roth, the bass player and keyboard player. It was definitely and Richard Garderer, who produced the Go-Go's, had produced their first Regina's first album. And so, yes, it was rock. But then if you hang around me too long, you start wanting to make dance music. So I think Mary and I played that track for Regina, and she said, "Well, this is good, but I can help you make it better," which she did. And I don't think there was any intentional. The best way I can put it is, like, if you listen to Nile Rodgers, Chic, and you listen to Nile Rodgers, Diana Ross produced tracks,
Yeah.
there's a major similarity there because it's,
There's definitely the same thread. Yeah.
There's a very, very, very tightly woven thread of Nile in that stuff, and I think there's a tightly woven thread of me in certain Madonna tracks, and in Baby Love, and so I just chalk it up to stylistic footprint as opposed to any kind of. I'm surprised to hear there was confusion about it, but because when I listen to them, Regina doesn't sound like Madonna to me, but that could be because. It's like the difference between a Merlot and a Pinot. It's maybe you have to have the taste buds.
So did Madonna approach you about the song? Did she?
Well, the legend I've heard, and as I said, I might get a little blurry because now you're talking 35 years ago or something like that. I'm told that we pitched it to Madonna to record. That's what I heard. I heard she rejected it for True Blue. And I can't swear to that. I don't really remember that, but it wouldn't surprise me because I feel like we played Regina and I wrote a few things that we played for Madonna and she didn't want to do because she liked doing her own songs. Which I completely understand. But I don't think that, I don't remember any more controversy than that. Let me put it that way.
Well, good, because it's such a good song and it still works. I mean, it showed up on season 2 of the Ryan Murphy show Pose. It opened up one of the episodes with the ballroom scene, and it was like, oh my God, this song still slays.
Oh, that's cool. I think I heard that, and then I heard that Scream Queens.
Yep. He put it in there too.
I think he obviously likes the song, and thank you very much, Ryan, for that.
And he always plays the remix, which is the better version, I think, because it just has
Michael. I did that with Michael Hutchinson, who may he rest in peace. God, 35 years just takes people from us. But Michael Hutchinson's really, really fun and great engineer that I met working with Jelly Bean at Sigma Sound in New York, and we did that I had a studio apartment. And we did all that whole thing in like this one room apartment, basically.
Wow.
Which is true of Into the Groove as well. That was mostly done in a 5-floor walk up on 8th Street. And so that New York is, we were Billie Eilish, she took a cue obviously from our playbook of let's just do it at home.
Yeah, I heard Madonna say in an interview once that the demo of Into the Groove was so raw when you guys recorded it that you could hear like sirens in the background. And of course, I racked my brain trying to find that specific demo so I could hear the sirens, but it's been cleaned up too many times, I think.
well, to be honest with you, the demo of Into the Groove is what's in the movie.
Oh, okay. That's why it sounds a little tinny with the sound mixing.
Because I think that's a 4-track because they said, give us this now. And there was not time to do anything else. And I said, well, Madonna, don't you want to sing that again? And she's like, no, I'm not singing that again. What's wrong with it? And I'm like, you can hear dogs barking. But
well, and I've said this multiple times on the podcast. The demo version of Into the Groove is by far the superior version of Into the Groove. Like, I love that they've decided to add pianos and
the remixes,
other this and that and blah blah blah, and souped it up and made it sound pretty and whatnot. But like the down and dirty version that you hear over the credits and in the club scene, the danceteria, that is the definitive version. It's I wanted an entire album of just that sound.
Yeah, that's you're hearing 8 tracks mixed down to 4.
Well, speaking of 35 years, Madonna's Who's That Girl movie recently commemorated its 35th anniversary.
Wow.
We recently spoke with director James Foley about it. We did a little tribute episode, which I think you said you listened to a little bit of. You had done the music for the film as well as worked on some of the songs for the soundtrack. What do you remember about working on the score for that film?
I remember being terrified the entire time because I was so honored and thrilled that they asked me to do that because it's I had never done that before, and it was such a responsibility, such a huge responsibility to do the score for a film, and I just did the best I could at the time. But I'm such a movie fan, I was so into it, and thank God, they liked my concept of like, let's just make this whole thing a house mix, let's make the score this house track, because I think house music was becoming really popular at the time. And even though I far too poppy to truly be house, I did my best in terms of trying to create a fun, quirky kind of bouncy thing. And that's where Causing a Commotion came out of, which I think you mentioned in the show, weaves its way throughout the film as little pieces of Causing a Commotion kind of get recycled throughout that thing. But that was really fun. And Dan Huff, who has become, one of the greatest producers of all time in Nashville, is playing the guitar on that soundtrack, and he was incredibly helpful to me in terms of like making that thing work. And then of course Pat did some beautiful, a couple of beautiful cues. What does she say? She says, hello, stranger. What does she say? What's that? There's a cue called Hello, Stranger or something when she pops the cork. Griffin Dunn walks in.
Oh yes.
And she pops the cork, and that's one of my
Hello,
favorite.
Counselor.
Hello, Counselor. That's what it is.
I also
that's
love
one of my favorite cues from that.
I love the cues that use "Can't Stop" during a lot of the chase scenes.
Oh
yeah.
I
mean,
that's a song
it's very underrated, right?
That's a song that got away. I feel like like we were talking about first. There's a Kiss and Desperately Seeking Susan. I think Can't Stop is one that, had we had another day or two to polish it, because songwriting is always about, well, for some of us it's always about polishing. For me it's always about polishing, where you kind of do this draft of it and then, okay, how can we make this stronger, how can we make this better? I feel like if we'd had another day, maybe Madonna would have been more, she would have been happier with it in terms of the verse or there's something about it that obviously they chose not to make it a single, because I love the hook of that though.
It's so good.
I love the hook of the song. Can't stop screaming and shouting your name.
I feel like it's like a second cousin to Where's the Party.
Nice. I like that.
Well, and I've also theorized many times in the podcast that the Can't Stop was a precursor to many future Madonna songs. Stuff that she does in Can't Stop, such as like the little robotic voice for Can't Stop. The vocoder's there. Yeah. She's whispering in there.
Right,
There's there are many similar things that she then continues to use in future songs. And I was like, see, it was born out of Can't Stop. That's where it all came from.
Well, it's worth it then for that. But yeah, no, I wish that song were more popular, but can't have everything. Where would you put it?
So what happened with Spotlight? That was written for True Blue and then made it as the lead single to You Can Dance. Did you have any input with that song on the You Can Dance album?
No, I was just pleasantly surprised that it saw the light of day there, because that's one where I think that's the Holiday guys, right? Wrote that song. We're co-writers on that song. I think that they came to us and again polishing. I think we just sort of joined forces on that, but I was disappointed that it wasn't on True Blue, but I was really happy. I think Madonna called and said, "Hey, Merry Christmas," because I think that album came out at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And I found a place for the song, so I was really happy about that.
Yeah, and that's where we saw. That's where I personally picked up on your Sly and the Family Stone inspiration there, and then also I heard it a lot in True Blue on Express Yourself and Keep It Together. Tell us how Sly and the Family Stone has influenced you, and with Madonna, and I guess with other.
Well, as I was saying earlier, one of the reasons I think we worked so well together was our musical taste was like, you've heard the expression, people finish each other's sentences.
Yeah,
we definitely finished each other's musical sentences, and because our love of Sly and the Family, it's an interesting blend. It's Sly and the Family Stone, it's Motown, it's the Carpenters. Because we both grew up on Detroit radio, which was this really beautiful blend of black music and pop music and everything in between. And Sly and the Family Stone, that was the first album I ever bought, was called Stand. It was their album that has Everyday People on it, and I Want to Take You Higher, maybe, and Sing a Simple Song. I was just like a super, super huge fan of theirs. And so when we, often our process would be to, when it's time to sit down and write some songs, when she wasn't busy being a movie star, was like, what's turning you on at the moment musically? You know, what's something we haven't done yet? You know, what's this, what corner of our musical, you know, universe have we not explored? And I think for Keep It Together, it was like clearly, let's do our take on, you know, Sly, because there was nobody else who, you know, if you guys saw Summer of Soul, and anybody who's listening, if you haven't seen it, watch Summer of Soul. If you like the, you know, black music and the roots of where a lot of Madonna comes from is, you know, that Stevie Wonder, and you get to see staple singers and all these great acts. You know, Sly was he's just a phenomenal example of what happens when you throw the rule book out in terms of what your influences are, because he could rock, he could funk, he could be soulful, and he could be trippy, you know, and it's all there. So we were just really respectful of that and enamored with it. And that's where Keep It Together comes from.
Yeah, it must have really made you smile when you saw the Blonde Ambition tour and Madonna starts out Keep It Together with Family Affair, which is like one of her all-time top performances, I would say.
Oh, very cool. Now I'm going to have to go back and look at that. That was Blonde Ambition?
Yeah, Blonde Ambition. And then for her next tour, The Girly Show, she finishes Everybody with Everybody as a Star. And it just blends perfectly. You know?
I mean, those songs are just, Everybody's a Star and Family Affair. I mean, them Running Away and If You Want Me to Stay. And I mean, what an amazing source of musical joy for all of us. And it's, you know,
I know,
kind of tragic. It's tragic what's happened to Sly. You know, he's not well.
No, and he's not able
unwell
to
for a while.
Put anything out. But yeah, I mean, it was very exciting for me at the time, as I had, you know, come up as a fan of Funkadelic and Sly and all that, you know, pre-disco funk music that I just love. And at that time, the only people that were referencing that kind of music were the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then suddenly Madonna, you know. So it was
No, she's
very telling of
Detroit. You know, she's got that Detroit in her.
Absolutely. Well, let's switch gears. Let's talk about your exciting journey to Broadway with The Color Purple. I saw it twice on Broadway. The first time in 2016. It was, I mean, it's an emotional experience, but I mean, your adaptation is amazing, and it, you know, earned the show a Tony Award, and now it's being made into a musical film. Tell us how you got involved in such an auspicious project.
Well, thank you for saying that. Allie Willis is the key to that one. You know, we celebrated her life yesterday, actually, because yesterday being the 21st of September, which she you know, wrote about in the song September. Allie was very good friends with Scott Sanders, who produced The Color Purple. He'd acquired the rights to the novel and to the film, and to make a musical based on those two sources. And Scott had been asking Allie, who should I get to write this music? Who should I get to write this music? I've tried a couple of, you know, teams and I'm not happy. Who should I get? And Allie was just brilliant in so many ways. And one of those ways was to say, well, I've got these two friends that I think are quite talented, and we'd like to take a stab at it. And so Brenda Russell, who was known for, you know, amazing songs like Piano in the Dark, Get Here. Yeah, she's, you know, Brenda's a phenomenal musician, singer, songwriter, pianist. So the three of us took a stab at it, and thank God Alice Walker, who wrote the novel, you know, and Scott loved it and gave us our shot, and he believed in us. Three people who did not know, you know, we of course said that we could write musicals when they asked us if we could.
Of course we can. We can. Of course.
Immediately ran to the "How do you write a musical" section of the bookstore, and started watching Stephen Sondheim, you know, musicals over and over again.
Into the Woods.
Exactly. No, Into the Woods, such a favorite of mine, as is Company, as is Sweeney Todd. But and Sunday in the Park with George. We just literally just watched those until we got, oh, okay, so you're writing songs like we know how to do, but you're telling a story at the same time. And you know, it's an interesting formula, and a lot of pop songwriters don't get that. And we learned the hard way too. Like, we write songs and they go, sounds really good, but you're not telling a story. You got to tell us, you got to move from here to here during this song so that we know that this character is, you know, on this particular journey. And so it was a really amazing and difficult and long learning process for us. But, you know, thank God we had great people. The first time around in 2005, we had Gary Griffin and the genius person, Marcia Norman, you know.
She wrote Night Mother.
She wrote the book.
Yeah.
She wrote the stage play. And so people like that kind of helped us bring our musical instincts into this storytelling context. And it has been, you know, I fell in love with music theater, and I will never turn back, because it's just, you can be as musical as you want, and you get to be in this giant playground of storytelling, which makes it fun. And so, as you mentioned, now we're adapting the musical, the stage musical for a motion picture, and we're about a quarter of the way through the post-production process right now, and you know, it's quite beautiful. Fantasia sings the lead, and
oh my God, that's
Taraji P. Henson,
powerhouse voice.
Taraji P. Henson is playing Shug Avery, and Coleman Domingo is playing Mr. Danielle Thomas is playing Sophia, who was on Broadway in 2016. Corey Hawkins is playing Harpo. It's a really great cast, and I can't wait till people.
I just got chills hearing who's going to be in it. I mean, that's going to be. I mean, people
fabulous.
are going to be losing their minds. You know,
it's pretty fabulous. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that, because I mean,
yeah.
I've heard this from many people and read it many times. It takes so many people and so many years to put together a Broadway show, and now you're coming out the other end where the show is being made into a film. So
it's been 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Well, and so what's next after Color Purple? What kind of projects do you have on the horizon? Are you working, or are you just taking a break?
No, there's no breaks. Well, I'm in a competition with my wife to see who can be busiest. You know, which is fun, which I'll never win. But you know, I got to do with Jennifer Hudson, the Aretha Franklin film. I got to co-produce music for that with my dear friend Jason Michael Webb, who was instrumental, I should have mentioned, on Color Purple too. Genius man. So I'm in love with movies, and because my wife makes movies, we just live in a movie household. So I'm hoping there's another film soon, you know, to happen. And if that doesn't happen, you know, I'm working on a couple of musical theater ideas, and I can't jinx them by talking about them, but you know, it is what I really have learned that I love doing.
That's awesome.
Well, I do know that a certain pop goddess that we love is working on a movie version of her life. So maybe that might need some music, and then it only seems natural to turn that movie musical into a Broadway stage show. So I don't know if you want to make a couple phone calls, Stephen, but it sort of sounds like that would be a perfect fit.
I am in complete agreement with you, Stephen.
Wow, who'd have thought Stephen Bray, Broadway baby? You're just gonna take on the town.
My parents made that happen, because we used to listen to Fiddler on the Roof and Camelot and The King and I in my house, and when I was growing up, and that was my parents. You know, you think this, you know, black school teacher couple, you'd think they'd be listening to Miles Davis and Ornette Coleman, but no, they were listening to If I Was a Rich Man. I mean, we just all the time. And Jesus Christ Superstar was huge. My sister and I learned every note of that musical.
Well,
it's in the blood.
Think of all the melodies and hooks that you subconsciously absorbed, you know, listening to all those amazing works, you know? Yeah. Hey, Stefan, is it time for my favorite part of the show?
Oh, you know it. So, Stephen, you are familiar with this. There's a little segment we do that we call the lightning round. But since you did this with the guys at Breakfast Club, right, I thought I'd switch it up a little and do a special lightning round for you.
So we've not done this.
These answers are meant to just be quick off the top of your head, wherever you're at in your Madonna journey right now. So, favorite Madonna song that was released, which you worked on?
Oh God, I think I'm proudest of Papa Don't Preach. I really love how that came out. I'm really proud of that one.
Favorite Madonna song that was not released that you worked on?
That's probably, it jumped into my mind. First, There's a Kiss, which I hope one day she'll say, that song is cute and I want people to hear it.
We're hoping that she's, because of the biopic that she's been working on, that she's been going through her archives and I mean, you know, as someone who's worked on movie musicals or movie soundtracks, it only makes sense that if you want to put together a soundtrack of possibly new songs from that time period, you would just pull.
It would be authentic, that's for sure. That'd be authentic.
So again, putting that out there.
Now, I know we're in the lightning round, but I will also put out there that it would be fun to write as if it was the time period too.
Well, I have said that many times on the show as well. Stephen, if you can make a couple calls, I have said what she needs to do is put together a soundtrack of songs that sound as if she was writing them in that time. Because how else she needs to get an original song nominated for an Oscar. So I mean, that's the only way she can be able to do that. So.
Let's start that campaign right now.
Oh, wait, let me insert this in. Did you guys write original music for the Color Purple movie?
There is original music, but I can't. But you know, we're in post production. You don't know what's going to make the final cut, so I shouldn't say. But we certainly hope so.
Oh, amazing!
Oh, nice. Okay. If you could work with Madonna again on new music, what style of music would you like to do with her?
Well, I don't know. That's literally an I don't know, because there are, like I say, our method would be to sit down and talk about what do we love, what are we loving right now, and that love could be something completely contemporary or something completely ancient. So I honestly don't know. That would be let's in the moment. We discover it in the moment.
Favorite Madonna look, and this can be from a music video, a tour, a photo shoot, in person.
Because I'm so old school, it would be that, you know, the classic brunette when she had the brown hair and the arm bracelets and all that stuff.
80s
all
Madonna.
that stuff that took 80s Madonna that took over 80s Madonna, but not true blue 80s, which I realized which was to me the metamorphosis into like goddess, because you know but that early stuff was more like punk, you know, punky, you know, gal that, you know, took over Macy's. I don't know if you remember Macy's kind of had a whole floor of that. But that's my favorite. But you got to have, you know, you got hats off to Herb Ritts, you know, and people who photographed her and made her into the goddess that we know and love.
Oh, amazing. Wow. Well, everyone, that's our show for today. Stephen, thank you again. This has been illuminating and it's been on my bucket list. So thank you for indulging us.
You guys are so welcome.
Tell us and tell everyone where we can find you online on social media.
Oh, you can find me mostly hanging out with Breakfast Club. So any sort of Breakfast Club related social media, that's where I am. I think I probably have some other tags too, but I don't know what they are, to be honest with you. But if you find Breakfast Club, you'll find me.
Yeah, and check out the Breakfast Club. They've got new music coming out soon, and you know, check out their Instagram. They've got stuff going on too.
Cool.
Yeah. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at MLVC Podcast. If you want to donate to the podcast, we're on Venmo at MLVC Podcast, or become a subscriber on Patreon, patreon.podbean.com/MLVC Podcast. Stephen Bray, this has been an absolute honor. Thank you so much for taking the time again to sit down and talk with us and tantalize us to no end. The teasing to know of the songs that are out there that we haven't been able to hear, but I'm telling you, we're putting it out there.
Yeah, and setting the record straight, because a lot of this, you know, ends up in the press or online, but it, you know, gets filtered. It's like a game of telephone, and then by the time we read it, it's nothing like what actually happened. So thank you for telling
hopefully
us.
Madonna's film will put it all straight.
I love that. I wonder who will play you in the movie.
I don't know. It's a good question.
I wonder, we're going to think about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Stephen, thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Thank you again.
Alrighty.